guys, coming to you today with another quick tip. This tip is never stop learning. I'm going to use Sears and AT&T as the example, but first I want to share a personal story with you. I have a friend, and that friend was a gas jockey, and he would go to work each day with a smile on his face and a skip in his step. And he'd go there, and he would communicate with the customers, and he would check the oil, and he would wash the windshield with the wiper. He'd talk to the mechanics and ask the mechanics things like, what do you like about the shop? Why are you a mechanic? What makes this shop the place to work? What don't you like about the shop? How do we order parts? He would talk to the owner and see how the owner did the books and accounted for the income and the expenses and what the income and the expenses were. He talked to the owner about how to get gas deliveries. He was always learning. This guy said I could learn something from anybody, from the kid that came in to get air in his tires to the owner himself. I was learning from everybody. Everybody had a lesson to teach me. I was open to hearing that message. He later on went on to not only purchase one service station, but 3 service stations. And he provided a tremendous value to the world. And he said, I did it because I always kept learning. I learned how to run the station from the ground up. So I knew all the positions. I knew about customer service. And then I had to learn, after I had my first service station, I had to learn how to expand the empire into a second and a third. Now let's go back to Sears and AT&T for a second. Sears was an innovator. Sears was always learning. Sears was always paying attention to what was going on around them and the opportunities that were afforded to them. They saw that the railroad was going to be able to transport their goods, so they came out with a catalog. And they started producing goods that could be transported over the rails to people that were far away and in remote locations. Then they saw that the automobile was starting to take off and that a lot of people were going to be driving, and they saw the need for storefronts. So then they created storefronts. They became so big, and they decided they didn't have to learn, that things were a fad, and they forgot about online. And they didn't pay attention to it, and they didn't see that. They didn't innovate their operations into the online world. And now Sears is practically out of business, right? They declared bankruptcy once already. They combined with Kmart. They're just a mess. It's not going to be long before they're completely out of business. AT&T and Verizon, on the other hand, saw the need to expand their footprint and their technology, and they rode that cell phone service, right? They used to be, Verizon and AT&T used to be phones on your wall connected with a wire. And you'd pick up the handset and you would dial the phone and you would call somebody. They could have said that cell phones were going to be a fad, but they didn't. They innovated into it, and they broke out into that infrastructure. They invested into that infrastructure. They never stopped learning. They could have said, that's a fad. We're not going to learn the tech on that. We're going to keep with what's been working for 50, 60, 70 years, however long the telephone's been around, right? But they didn't. They innovated, and they moved forward. So today's message is, what do you need to learn so that you can continue to move forward? How can you expand your knowledge base? Until we meet again, I want you to go out there and I want you to be unstoppable.